Hello everybody and welcome to the video. If you're new here, welcome in. If you're coming back, welcome back. Happy to have you here. So this video, I've been wanting to do something like this for a really long time, and I kind of deprived myself of doing things that I enjoy. I don't know why I did that, but you know, it is what it is. And I saw a TikTok not too long ago of someone being like, all my favorite things when I was growing up, like all my favorite fandoms and what have you in series, are like resurfacing and they're like becoming the things that I love again. And that made me think back to like how much I love Minecraft Diaries. So that's what this entire video is about. It's redesigning the main-ish characters, some of the main characters, the main four, I would say, of the series Minecraft Diaries. That series has a special place in my heart. So yeah, this video is going to be a bit lengthier because I wanted to talk about like my thought process when it came to redesigning them, if that makes any sense. But I'm really excited to show this to you guys. I'm excited for you to watch it. I hope you enjoy it. But regardless, I had a lot of fun making this piece, and in general, like talking about these characters, it just makes my little inner child so happy and bouncing off the walls with joy. So yeah, I'm really excited. Enjoy the video. Let's get to it. Alright, and now we're gonna start with the sketching phase. Everyone's favorite. Not just kidding, sort of. Personally, sketching isn't really my favorite for multiple reasons. I like it because I like keeping things loosey-goosey, but I also don't like it because it stresses me out for like perspective and positions and poses and anatomy and all that stuff. But anyways, regardless, I started off with Aphmau, the main character. Literally the start of this whole thing and whole shebang. I wanted her pose to be expressive. I wanted it to show her character a little bit, but I didn't want it to be okay, because I have a weird relationship with the character Aphmau herself, and that's the whole like she's very damsel in distress but also not, so it was a little bit of a struggle to try and portray her. But I wanted to show her, you know, attitude and confidence in her pose. So she's putting her weight on one of her legs and she's a bit calmer. She's supposed to be a symbol of peace and justice and a little bit of spice in there too. And then for Garth, which is who you just saw, I wanted him to be a bit more meek, a bit more reserved. So he looks a bit more reserved and, you know, to himself. He doesn't really open up easily. And then we have Lawrence, who is just a chaotic little flirtatious ball of fun. I love Lawrence so much. There's so much depth to his character, and I love it a lot. I love him a lot. And I wanted him to be the flirty, cheeky little man that he is. So I definitely had to give him a fun pose in that regard. And then we have Dante. So Dante is also one of my other favorite characters. Out of the main four, it ranks probably like Lawrence and Dante are tied, and then Garth, and then Aphmau. But he's like sort of a mix between Garth and Lawrence, which is kind of funny to me in the sense that he's a bit more quiet than the other two, but he's just like also fun and also flirty and also youthful and all that fun stuff. But here I am just fixing their heights and adjusting as is, and now we can just move on to the line art, so let's go. Okay, so the first character that I worked on was Aphmau, obviously, because we're A, going down the line, and B, she's the main character of the story. So as far as appearances go, I made her look a lot like how she a lot like how most artists make her look, and as far as appearances go. She just has very like soft features. She has like the big curly wavy hair, which reminds me a lot of like Aphrodite and Gaia in some depictions, because it's like really long, it's really wavy. So it's like very ethereal and goddessy. It's very, very nice. I like it a lot. It makes me happy. I did struggle with her hair though, a lot. I was struggling. But then I eventually got it, and I really liked how it turned out. But yeah, it was a struggle. It was not fun at first. I looked at a bunch of different artist renditions of her and like her outfits too. I was torn between like two of them. But I was like, I really liked her season 3, I think, outfit, where it's like half armor and then half not. Like, I thought it was really cool. So I kind of mixed that with a few other elements and stuff, but did heavily look and like take inspiration from that outfit. But I did that because I wanted her character to show, like, as far as costume, or I guess outfit, as far as her outfit goes, I wanted it to show that she is the type of person who is diplomatic. Throughout the series, that she tries to solve issues with other lords or with other like areas or even species in a diplomatic manner, and she tries to like just talk to them and be like, hey, this is what's going on, like, we need to resolve this. So, but she's also the type of person who's not afraid to fight. So I wanted to give her that like half symbolism, that balance symbolism. So part of her is obviously she has some armor, which, by the way, armor's a pain in the rear to draw. I struggled with it so hard. It was fine once I got the hang of it, but at first it was rough. But anyways, I wanted to give her that like half, like she has the breastplate and the little shoulder things. No, I don't know what they're called, and no, I will not be Googling what they're called. But I wanted to give her like some armor to show like, yeah, she is ready to fight. She is the type of person who will fight if she has to. But she's not the type of person who goes in punching, you know? She doesn't go in guns a-firing. She tries to handle things in a peaceful manner if possible. But she's just also not afraid to beat some people up if she has to. But yeah, so I also gave her this like turtleneck type thing that went into fingered gloves. Like, it wasn't, there's not separate gloves, it's more like just one piece. It reminded me a lot of those like 2000, what would that be? 2010, I think. The like fingered sleeves, is that what they were called? The fingered sleeves, where it would be like the little thumb is poking out of the sleeve. Those, that's what it sort of reminded me of. But then I ended up changing it later on, and I gave her chainmail and just normal fingerless gloves, because it looked kind of weird. Even like looking at the speed paint right now, I'm like, oh, that looks really, really odd. Like, I see where my mind was going with it, but it just didn't pan out in actualization. So I did end up changing and giving her some chainmail, because she needs a little bit more protection than just like, because like her arms could get cut, so you gotta be careful out there. You gotta be careful. But yeah, so, and I did give her a little like leg thigh pouch, but looking back on it, I kind of hate it, because it looks out of place, and not only that, there's just not enough detail in my opinion. But I definitely could have done better with her design. But I mean, I haven't watched this series in so long. Like, I started rewatching it not too long ago, but I didn't finish rewatching it. Oh, and those boots were original designs for my These Embers character, which, if you haven't watched that episode where I talk about Thomas in my original story, you should. Because it was actually based off of this series, and then it just sort of spawned into its own thing. Anyways, we're not talking about these embers, we're talking about Minecraft Diaries. But my point is that back in the day, like in 2019 I want to say, I was looking into actual medieval like attire and clothing and boots and stuff, and I gave them a redesign, my character's a redesign with the historical accurate clothing. So I tried doing that for her boots because I was like, oh, maybe it would look cool. Spoiler alert, it didn't look cool, and I really struggled with how I wanted her boots to look. But then I just ended up giving an homage to her skin design, her Minecraft skin design, which was like the tumbler, really tall boots that have like lace and corsets and stuff. I like calling them corset boots, but I don't think that's what they're called. But yeah, I ended up giving her those types of boots because it looks good with her outfit. Plus, it's a nice little homage to the original skins. So I mean, it was kind of a win-win in my opinion. In my humble opinion, it all worked out in the end. But yeah, so it's just kind of funny to me that the design of like skins is so, as far as eras, it's so all over the place. But yeah, so I just cleaning up her design a little bit, adding some little tiny details, and then yeah, we're gonna move on to Garth, who I'm excited to talk about, but he's also not one of my favorites. So let's move on to Garth. Alrighty, so Garth is one of my least favorite characters out of the series, but we'll get into that later on. So as far as his design goes, when I redrew him and Lawrence and Dante at like the tavern, the wholesome little drawing that I did, that I posted on my Instagram, which if you don't follow, you should totally follow it. I gave him some features that I really liked on him. Like I gave him really curly hair. I gave him the downward, the downward eyes. I don't know what they're called, but they're that specific eye shape that are downward. And I don't know what they're called, but I thought that they looked good on him, and I thought that they fit him and his character. So I kept it in this rendition of him, and his clothing changed a lot. If you don't know what his original like skin looks like, his Minecraft skin, it's rough. It is not cute. It's really, really ugly, actually, in fact. Like the idea of like the White Knight, it's good, but it wasn't well done in production, in my opinion. So I pretty much changed it to where his armor wasn't white and it didn't have the ugly giant cross in the front. And I changed it to where it was just like diamond, or just a normal suit of armor with a little bit of flair, as you can see by the weird little sail fin flippy thingies on his sides, which are supposed to be connected to his hips, but like whatever, it's whatever. I don't know. I was learning armor during this process, so it's not going to be the greatest armor or suit of armor that I'll ever draw. I'll definitely improve over time, because I'm not used to drawing like a full suit of armor. But I liked it. I thought it was good. But that was the other thing too, was his character it's not my favorite. He's literally just there to be a love interest of Aphmau, and that's all his character really is, which sucks because like as time goes on, he does have more development, but then he just kind of gets thrown away after some time, which again really sucks. But when we first meet him, he's like this really shy guy. He's like, he's not like, he is shy. I was gonna say he's not shy, but he is shy. And he just is really reserved because he doesn't want anyone to find out who he is, which fair. And spoiler alert, he's the king's son, like his firstborn son, so he's technically the heir to the throne. but he ran away because he wants to be a guard, and he doesn't want to be king. As if we haven't heard that story like in 20 different ways, 20 different times. But yeah, so I wanted him to be the only one with a full suit of armor, because he's the one who's more reserved. And not only that, it fits his fighting style pretty well. At least in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I feel like he would be the guard who like is the first one to literally jump in front of the Lord and like just tank any attack that happens. That's how I feel his fighting style is. So I was like, okay, well, if you were the person who is going to constantly throw yourself in front of someone, you would be the type of person to probably have like a full suit of armor, like covered head to toe in armor. And one of his biggest things at the first season is that he wears a helmet, but I didn't give him his helmet because I wanted to show his face, obviously. And I thought about designing his helmet, but the thought of designing a knight helmet after struggling so hard with the just full suit of armor, I couldn't do it mentally. I was like, no, forget that. I'm not doing that. Figuring out the armor was enough work for me. And don't get me wrong, like, now I enjoy making armor and designing it and doing it, but man, I had to Google so many different like reference photos and illustrations and like real life pictures to figure it out, because it's so weird, because armor is literally just layers and sheets of metal that you just slap on your body, and that's armor. That's what it is. It's literally just metal that it's crazy too, like the work that goes into metal. I mean, like metal work for armor, because you have to think of the joints, you have to think of practicality, you have to think of, well, how heavy is the metal that you're working with? Like, it's crazy, man. So I do think that because he is the tank of the group, he would be the slowest, and he's also the loudest. He's not the stealthy one. Dante, in my opinion, his fighting style is more stealthy, so he has less like clanky armor. He has to be more able to move, essentially. But yeah, I mean, once I figured out like how armor looks and how it works, I actually had a lot of fun with it. Like, I like the shoes on him. I like the way that they look and how they're layered and all that stuff. The arms, I feel like could have been better for sure. I feel like the legs also could have been better. But anyways, on to Lawrence. What to say about my love for Lawrence? I wanted to give his uniform a completely different vibe from Garth's, because, you know, Garth is richer in retrospect than Lawrence, by default, because I'm sure he took quite a handful of money from his family before he left. It's not confirmed or anything, but that's my opinion about it. So I also wanted his vibe to look different because he came from a different town originally. So that's exactly what I did. I wanted to reflect the town that he came from, so the uniform would reflect that. And I also kept his long hair. I like long hair Lawrence, and I wasn't about to give him short hair, even though I did in the drawing that I did not too long ago with them in the tavern. I don't care. Longhorn Lawrence is back, and I also kept him a ginger, semi. So I gave him a cute little braid though, because I thought that would be sweet, and I put a ribbon in his hair that Cadenza, his sister, gave him as sort of like a memento for, you know, while he's on his travels and whatnot, he can remember his sister and where he's from by. So I thought that was sweet, and I like it. But yeah, his armor is definitely a lot more laxed. It's not a complete set and suit of armor like Garth's is. It also just has like more travel-y vibes in general, which honestly suits him because, I mean, he came from a city that was like by the port, so, you know, people travel a lot, that city was like a traveling city. And I did give him chainmail, of course. Um, I gave him the little drape thingy that I was talking about, or maybe I didn't talk about it, but I gave him a little drape thingy. And you'll see it in a second. But I gave him those cutesy little sheets of metal that I really like giving characters when I don't want to do a lot of work on armor. There you go. But there's his little drape thingy. I do really like his boots. Just my humble opinion. I think they're probably one of my favorites. Although Dante's are really cool too. But regardless, I really like how his like entire outfit looks. It feels very him. There's no better way that I can describe it other than it just feels and looks like Lawrence. Like he's an adventurer. He loves, being cheeky. He's a cheeky man. He's just a fun character, honestly. I love Lawrence. I adore him. And I was really sad when he became a Shadow Knight because I was like, no, don't hurt him. But he's a selfless guard, that's for certain. And he is yet again another one of Aphmau's love interests, which in the long run kind of wrecked his character the same way it wrecked Garth's character, which again, disappointing, but I mean, that's what the fan base is for. And if you recall, he had a companion wyvern, so I wanted to pay tribute to that and like a little Easter egg. So on his little drape thingy, I decided, well, maybe his little drape thingy should have a crest on it, and it should be a wyvern. So I made a little wyvern crest, and I think it's sweet, and I think it's cute, and I don't want to think about him and his wyvern companion because it makes me sad. But yeah, essentially his story is just overall sad in my opinion. But he's just a fun character and I adore him, and I was really excited to design him. So I mean, not a lot to say there. He's just a fun character, and I really like how his design came through. It really made his colors shine through. So let's move on to Dante. And now we're on to Dante. At first I extended the canvas because I was like, oh, I'll put their swords above their heads because that would be cool. But then I didn't end up doing that. But as far as Dante goes, I kept him pretty consistent. I think I kept all of them pretty consistent with how I drew them not too long ago when they were in the tavern and the good old wholesome drawing. I was gonna give Dante like a really small braid like the Padawans have, because he was an apprentice when they first met him. He wasn't an official guard yet. So I was like, yeah, that'd be kind of cool and be a fun little callback to Star Wars too. But then I decided against it because I was like, well, when he's older, he'll have a bunch of braids because his kids will probably braid his hair. Because he has longer hair when I draw him as he's older. But, yeah, so Dante's, like, design, though, as far as design and, like, my favorite, his is probably my favorite. I just really like how it turned out. It's like a hard tie between his and Lawrence's because I just feel like his is it's so good. Like, it stands out. I mean, all of them stand out from one another. But his especially I don't know, it scratches my brain really good. But, yes, I gave him the shoulder thingies, as one does. And, because his attacking method and fighting method, at least in my opinion, is a bit more stealthy, he does have, a little bit less armor, and he has those arm pad thingies to block any attacks with his arm if he needs to. He does have gloves, because he's a cool kid like that. And he has his double katanas, pretty cool. He's a pretty cool dude, if you ask me. But yeah, I thoroughly loved designing him. I mean, obviously he would still make some noise, because he has chainmail on. But I mean, he's pretty stealth mode in his design. And his boots, oh my gosh, you're gonna see. I love how his boots turned out. They are literally my favorite part about his design. That and his cloak, because I made his cloak a lot shorter so that way he would have better reach for combat. I adore his boots though, and you'll see them. They are so good. They are so scrummy. But yes, I did end up adding like their satchels and sword thingies. I don't know what they're called. The sheaths. Sheaths. Is it a sword sheath? But like the belt part, not the sheath itself. Anyways, look at his boots. Look at them. Look at his shoes. They are so cool. Oh, I love them. I love them so flippin' much. They're just so cool to me. I don't know why. But they're literally my favorite part of his design. They're just so good. So good. But yeah, I do see him as being more of the spy of the group. Like he's the scout. He's the one who sneaks up ahead to make sure that it's safe. He's definitely, I don't know why, but I visualize him as the climber of the group. Like, I just imagine this man climbing trees all the time. Like, just jumping around, having a grand old time. But yeah, I love how his design came out. I love his cloak. I love all their designs though. But now we can move on to their swords. So I had very specific ideas for all of their swords. I knew that I wanted Lawrence to have a long sword, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep his sword to be all jaggedy, because in Minecraft, in the mod that they had and that they were using, the swords were like, they had really big fat swords, they had like really cool looking swords, some of them were jaggedy, and there was also the texture pack, I think, too. But yeah, so you'll see his. But Aphmau's, I wanted I took inspiration from Lord of the Rings for Aphmau's sword. If you have ever watched Lord of the Rings or Hobbit or read them, then just by looking at the sword you'll know, because it looks a lot like the elven swords that oh my gosh, what's his name? It wasn't Frodo, it was Bilbo. Yeah, Bilbo got one of those elven swords that glows blue when there's goblins. So I like the curve of the blade. It was really cool, and I put her Irene symbol in her sword. So, you know, gotta make some references there. And then Garth's sword, I wanted to be big, like him. Big and bulky, just good stuff. And then his skin has a scarf on it. I don't remember if this is canon or not, but I thought that his mom saw him one time, and she was like, oh, you still have my scarf. So I was like, okay, so let's make his little scarf, or her scarf, on the, what are they called? It's not the helm, is it? I don't remember what they're called. Oh my gosh, this is bad. I don't remember what they're called, but the handle, maybe it's helm, I don't know. Anyways, Lawrence's sword is the longest out of all of them, and to pay tribute to the jaggediness of his sword, I made like the helm, or the handle, the little like thing that connects the handle to the sword part, all jaggedy, so it's like paying tribute to the original design, and it looks cool and all that fun stuff. And then we have Dante's double katanas / swords. I liked the original design I had for his sword, so I kept them pretty true to nature. They are, I think his are the shortest out of all of them, but they're also lightweight, all that fun stuff. Again, I really like putting like holes in swords for some reason. I don't know why, but it's just fun for me. But there they are, and now it's on the coloring. So for Aphmau's color palette, not a whole lot to say as far as the majority of it. Like her skin color stayed the same because it's, that's the skin color of her character, whatever. And then her hair color stayed the same, eye color stayed the same. Like there wasn't too much to change there, and I didn't feel like it was really necessary to change anything in that area in that regard. So I just didn't, as one does. But there I am, adding the gloves and chainmail. Go me. But as far as the rest of her outfit and like how she appears and the colors that I chose for the rest of her, that had a little bit more thought process behind it. Because basically her main color in the story is purple, and there's multiple reasons for it, at least in my opinion and as far as I like understand everything. But the reason I wanted it to be purple was because purple back in the day, if you don't know, here's a little mini history lesson, little history fact. Back in the day, purple was a royal color. It was an expensive dye to get, so therefore it was a royal color because only the rich and the wealthy could afford that dye and afford that color. So I wanted it to pay tribute to her wealthiness and status, but I didn't want it to be a bright, vivid purple. I wanted it to be dulled down and desaturated to show her humility, essentially. Like she's not showing off and like being like, oh, look at me, I'm so rich. She's not showing off her wealth. She never really has in the story, at least from what I can recall. And she just doesn't do it. So I wanted it to be desaturated purples, almost sort of earthy tones in a sense. And I also did stay within the same area of the color wheel. That's something that I've been practicing, trying to be consistent with how many colors I use and where I use them and where I put them and all that fun stuff. But yeah, there's really not much to say about her color palette other than I chose purple, and I chose a desaturated purple with intent. But as far as coloring the armor, that was a lot of fun. I really like coloring armor. It's just, I like coloring the little shinies. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, I just do some touch-ups, and other than that, don't have much to say about her and her color choices. So I'll just let you enjoy. So as far as her sword, just wanted to pop back in here real quick. I wanted it to look ethereal and look like it came from like a literal god. So I made it diamond, of course I did. And I don't go back and color each one after I finish each character. Just, I realized that was a silly mistake on my part because of formatting. Just wanted to pop in here and say that was why I chose those colors. Alright, okay. So now we're on to Garth's color palette. So Garth, his skin, like his Minecraft skin, is very, very pale. And as a guard, even though he's under a full suit of armor, I feel like he doesn't train in said full suit of armor. So I don't think he would be pale, like at least not as pale as they portrayed him. I also hate platinum blonde. It is my least favorite blonde. Because it works well for some characters, but on Garth, I hate it. I hate it so much. Unpopular opinion, I know. But whatever. So I gave him a more rich and darker blonde, strawberry blondish color. I don't know. I gave him a blonde that I like to look at. So there you go. And then he, of course, has the fancy diamond armor, full suit. I gotta stick with the Minecraft roots somewhat, you know what I mean? So, I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, you know what I mean? But coloring his armor was so much fun. All that hard work and like wanting to scream and cry because I couldn't get the armor right. It paid off for coloring this thing. Oh man, it was good. His main colors though are blue, so I isolated each of them to a main color, and I think his really I think I like his. I like how he turned out. So I'll just let you enjoy the rest of the coloring. Alright, and now we're chugging right along to Lawrence. So Lawrence is definitely an outdoors boy, so he would definitely be pretty tan, at least in my opinion. So I made him, semi-tan, and then I of course kept his gorgeous ginger hair. I had to. I mean, how can you remove him from being a ginger? It's just ridiculous. So I did his little braid, and then I ended up adding the little ribbon for Cadenza later on, and I kept all his colors in the greens. What do you know? So his main color is green, but yeah, I really like how his color palette turned out. I ended up using and borrowing some colors from previous characters, like I used the brown from Aphmau, I used the gold from Garth. So, everything's kind of concise and everything's well knit together. And honestly, that's what you have to do if you're making like a group of characters sometimes, is like obviously have their own distincting colors, but also having something that sort of just ties them all in together. And that can be done in how they look, in the colors that you use, etc., etc. But yeah, I'll let you enjoy the rest of his coloring then. And now we're on to my boy Dante. So Dante is the palest out of all of them. But I mean, you know, he's not super extremely pale either, because again, they're guards. They're out in the sun all the time. I don't know why they were so pale. I mean, I get it, some people don't tan, but I feel like Dante would tan. But yeah, his main color palette was a bit tricky, because if you look at all of his previous skins and all in his Minecraft skins, some of them were mainly white, some of them were bronze, some of them were, you know, red and bronze. So I tried to incorporate those main colors. I tried to use bronze and then silver slash white and then having a red pop to it. I feel like I shouldn't have used the bronze because it just kind of makes it look a bit muddy, I guess, and just not great in my opinion. But it's still one of my favorite designs, so I can't complain too much. But yeah, I don't have much else to say about him, so I'll just let you enjoy it. I don't have a whole lot to say about their swords because they just kind of match each character minus Aphmau's, because hers is obviously diamond because it's supposed to be a bit more ethereal. But I mean, the other three, it matches their characters pretty well. It has the same personality, I would say, and the same color palette, more or less. So not much to say as far as the coloring goes. So I'll just let you guys enjoy. Well, there's the final results, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see stuff like this in the future, I am more than happy to do it. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye!